Hey guys, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Game of Gymnastics podcast. This week we've got Bryony Page, a triple Olympic medalist in trampolining. Talk about her journey in the sport and her experiences of getting those 3 Olympic medals. I hope you enjoy. So talk us through your experiences at the Olympic Games over the years. So obviously you tried out for 2008. So what was that?
Yeah, so I was part of the trial process internally. So nationally, I didn't compete internationally at a senior level until the following year anyway, or 2009 or 2010, depending on what you count. So there was absolutely no reason for me to be thinking that I was going to make the team. I went just for the experience to understand what trialing for an Olympic might feel like, and doing the trial events trial events, if they're closed, are very different to a national competition or an international competition. They feel very intimate. So to understand, you've only got the judges, the coaches, and the athletes competing. It may be the people they're doing and stuff, but you haven't got an audience or a crowd. So it's a very different environment to what the Olympics would be like, or to any international event. So it's a skill that I wanted to practice that, ready for the London Olympics, where I would definitely have a better chance of making that team. It was also something that my coach at the time thought, for those reasons, let's just try it. Why not? If the 10 people ahead of you, mess up, then you get to go. So that was never happening. It was just for the experience. So don't really count that, but I was part of it and to learn from it. The London Olympic trials and qualification process did not go well for me at all. So I was fourth at the World Championships in 2010, 2 years out from Olympics. So that's a good result to kind of put me in the running for the trials and the qualification process. But I just fell apart, my body and mind. So I remember I had a really bad ankle, which I ended up having operated on eventually, but really bad impingement in my ankle in the build up to the first qualification trial event. So my training was really bad going in. I was in a lot of pain and trying to kind of manage it and not really knowing how to, because the program was very different back then than it was here. And I was almost scared to say, I'm injured, and I didn't know what the support was going to be like, or if they would withdraw me from a competition. Didn't know what that meant. So it was a very different system, and I was very young and not used to it. So I didn't really know how to react, or how to get the support. I could have had amazing support, but I didn't access it in the right way. I didn't even try to. I really wasn't sure. So there's me just struggling, not wanting to say that I'm injured, trying to train through it, not doing a very good job doing the first qualification, and it did not go well. And then going into the second one, luckily my ankle was feeling a little better, but I was still struggling. And I actually had a lung infection in the few weeks before. So I was really unfit when it came to the second trial, with not as many numbers, and just mentally, I didn't feel like I could do it. So it was I don't feel prepared. How can I do this? Still got to try, and just did it. Mentally was not there, and physically still struggling with a little bit of my ankle, and fitness wise and routine fitness was just way off. So it just underperformed in the second trial. And the way that it worked at that time for the London Olympics was basically after the first 2 trials, you knock out the person that's last. And I was that person. Ended up getting a lot better throughout the year. And then for British Champs, I finished second. So it could have been a much different scenario had I had a bit more confidence or a bit better prep going in. So just illness and injury kind of hampered my trials right from the start. But by the end of the qualification process, I was feeling much more confident and doing a lot better on the trampoline. So yeah, and so kind of for me, missing out it was kind of twofold actually. Missing out on the qualification process so early on, being kicked off from the trials, meant that my name was the one put forward to Team GB as the person to put for the Ambitions program. So Team GB hosts an Ambitions program, which basically means Olympic hopefuls get to go and experience, and being a home games meant that I got to go and experience the London Olympic Village, the kind of the media zones of the London Olympics. I got to go and watch different sports as well as trampolining, and get to know other athletes from different sports in the same position, including Winter Olympians, actually, hopeful Winter Olympians. So I met Lizzie Arnold there, and Jenny Jones, and not that she remembers that, I do. So because I'd missed out so early, they had to give that name by that point, so it was mine. And that gave me such an amazing opportunity at the London Olympics. First of all, I remember the absolute devastation that I felt going into the Olympic arena for trampoline, sitting down to watch it, and just tears streaming down my face, like I couldn't hold them back. It wasn't like just sobbing, it was just tears. For me, that was my moment of going, I didn't do it. And that realization and that heartbreak of not making it to an Olympics and to a home Olympics, and to miss out, and just, I felt so awful and heartbroken in that moment. As well as like proud for Kat and excited to watch her. It was such a weird, like, absolutely devastated for myself, but so excited to watch somebody at a home games and experience the crowd. Like, I get goosebumps thinking about how loud the crowd was for Kat and how amazingly she was able to kind of perform under that. Like, there was a part of me that was devastated, and there was part of me that was, I'll no way be able to deal with that right now. Like, it was such a weird experience. So I had that like really kind of hurt and that pain, which became a massive negative motivator, which was like, I don't want to feel that again. Like, I'm going to try everything I possibly can. When it's a hard training session, I'm going to give it even that little bit more. Like, I don't want to miss out, and I don't want to feel like this again. And then because the Ambitious program also had such an amazing experience of, went into the nearest and dearest tent, which was kind of actually like a marquee in one of the parks. And they had parents and family members and friends of people competing from Team GB, and there was a cyclist competing, and they ended up winning a medal. And I was in that marquee when that happened, and watching the family members and the friends celebrate for that person in that moment, and Team GB, the staff there. And I watched that, as a wallflower, as a fly on the wall. Like, just, I didn't know the person, didn't know the family, but I'm there like tearing up, and just, I don't get to see that as a competitor, how my family react. So to see that for somebody else was just extraordinary. And I was like, I want that for my family. I want that for everyone that's helped me. So it was that massive positive motivator. So that was my experience, and it kept me going. Like, really, really did. Those two things was what I gained most from the London Olympics. Okay, so we've got 3 more Olympics to go.
Yeah.
I'll try and do them a bit quicker. So yeah, London Olympics were those, I gained so much from it. Negative motivator, positive motivator, and focus and understanding and experience and things to learn from. And then, Rio Olympics, the build up to Rio Olympics, like, we're talking like literally like 3 years out, 2 years out, 1 year out, especially with the 1 year out, was the most difficult time of my life I've ever experienced. It was extraordinarily hard to go from that Olympic cycle. I look back and I'm like, whew, like, in comparison to what I've done for Tokyo, where we had COVID, a lockdown, and we're, for a good year. And also after Rio, I had 2 surgeries on my ankle and was out for a couple of years too. That was so much easier than the build up to Rio's. I just was so tough. And I think, like, there's so many factors to why it was like that. But like the year out, I was just training through pain, and just trying so hard to like just get as good as I could, and just ignoring my body, and ended up, just over a year out, being put into a boot for 6 weeks, and then had to build up for the next 3 months for like a bony stress response in my leg. And it was like 2 weeks out from British Championships, where that was the qualification event for the World Champs, so to make the team. I had like 2 weeks to prepare for it, and I was like, just need to get into the top 4. Like, I just need to make it onto the team. Ended up winning British Championships with that prep. It was like, right, this just tactfully with my support staff, my coaches and sports psych and physios, everything. It's like, what can I do that's going to give me my best chance? And actually ended up just I did so much visualization when I was off the trampoline. I had so much support from the people around me to feel comfortable going into that British Championships. And I think the visualization was massively helpful, because I felt like when I started doing the stuff on the trampoline, I'd already done it for like 3 months. So I ended up winning that, made it onto the team to World Championships. And at World Championships, me and Kat made it into the final, which at that time, that's how you qualify 2 spaces. If you get 2 people into the final, you get 2 spaces. That's the only way it happens. Me and Kat managed to do it. So that was the first time I qualified 2 spaces. It was unreal. I finished 5th with a routine where I made slight mistakes, but it was still good. So I was like, okay, the year I'm going to train like I'm going to become like I'm an Olympic medalist. I'm going to train like that, and what I expect an Olympic medalist to train like, that's what I'm going for. Like secretly, I wrote in my diary. Um, and because I felt like, oh, so if I finish fifth with a few mistakes, if I nail my routine, like it's perfect, it's the best I can do, maybe I can squeeze onto the podium. But at the start of the year, a friend of mine had, or it was actually just over kind of New Year's, but a friend of mine had passed away from cancer. And then at the start of the year, another friend of mine had taken his own life. So I was like dealing with like grief. And we also were training at Lilleshall Monday to Friday every single week. And just at a time when I could have really done with like being with friends and family and kind of processing those sorts of emotions that I'd never felt before. People my age hadn't, I didn't know of that. It was like the first time people my age had passed away that I knew personally. And instead of being kind of processing that, I was trying to make it to Olympic Games. I was trying to like, fight for my space. And the environment that we're at with 3 women going for 2 spaces. So Monday to Friday, you were living, we had breakfast, lunch, and dinners together. We trained together. We're staying in an accommodation, basically like Hogwarts, you know what it's like. And it was a really intense environment, and I just didn't know how to cope with it. And I was really, really struggling because I was trying my absolute hardest to train to my best, like physically, mentally, everything, putting everything into it. And I was so worried about missing out on the Olympics again that that's what consumed me. And I just forgot how to compete. When I started competing internationally, I just was focused on, I'm going to, like, I put all this effort in, I'm going to mess up. And what if I mess up and what if I don't ever become an Olympian? What if I don't do this? And it just consumed me. And the first competition where we competed at, I absolutely broke down to the sports. Like, I was just like, I can't do it. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, blah. And then by the time I got to Europeans, which was kind of like Easter time, European Championships, was actually when I was out there, my uncle had passed away from cancer. We kind of knew that it was building to that, but we were going to see him the next week. So I felt so guilty for going. Like, it was just the most horrendous like time personally, like with all of these things happening. I'm not really knowing how to process it at the time. And whilst also trying my hardest, and it's all failing, it's going wrong. I feel like a failure.
Yeah.
I'm like, my dream of going to Olympics is slipping away. And Europeans are just, I broke down, and I spoke with my coach, Paul Greaves at the time, spoke with him, and I was like, I'm just so miserable. Like, everything I do, it's not working. I'm trying so hard, and I just feel like a failure. He was like, well, like, you don't have to go. You don't have to keep trampolining. Like, if it's making you miserable or like that, like, I support whatever decision you decide to do. And we're like, this is my personal coach for now 6 years, and he's got an athlete that is like inches away from trying to make it to Olympic Games, like a few months away, and with a few more competitions, a few more tries. And he's saying, like, I care about you so much as a person. I want you to be happy over, trying to achieve something of your dreams.
Yeah.
And as his own.
Yeah. I mean, that speaks to the severity of what you were going through as well.
Yeah. There was a lot more to, like, I can't go into everything,
Yes,
but there was a lot more going on, and it was just really, really tough. And he just supported me as a person. I kind of got home from that Europeans, and just obviously, like, I forgot, I didn't actually say how I did it at Europeans. I messed up my individual to the point where I would actually, there's 4 women, I actually qualified into the semi-final, but the 4th woman gets dropped, and there's only 3 qualify into the semi-finals. So I actually, personally, if I came from any other country, I would have qualified into semi-final, had another shot, but I was the 4th member, so I didn't get to do it. But that was like, I massively underperformed. And when it came to the team final, I was so angry at the fact, I was like, why do I keep messing up? And I just, just switched off. I just went, I don't care anymore. Do you know what? Like, I'm so unhappy with this. I'm so disappointed in myself. I do not care. And it was such a, like, I just jumped with so much anger, and without any worry of if I was going to mess up, because I'd already kind of lost it before. And for the team event, I actually didn't feel too much pressure I know it sounds awful now, but like, obviously I wanted the team to do well, and I think it's 4 up anyway, 3 to count. So it was less pressure to perform, but I was just so angry at the whole thing, just jump in with anger, and then ended up, because I wasn't thinking about messing up and just jumping so angry, I smashed my routine and I had the highest score from a female trampolinist in the entire competition in that moment. And it was so frustrating because it was like, I didn't even try on that one. I wasn't even like trying really hard because it didn't mean as much to me. Like I was already broken as a person in that moment, but like I can do it then when it doesn't count for my Olympic journey, and it can do it for the team, but I can't do it for myself. But I'm good enough to like physically, technically, I'm good enough. And it was just, I came back from those Europeans just like so fuming and so upset. And it just, I don't know, something switched in me and I went, whatever I'm doing right now, it's clearly not working, even though I'm trying my absolute hardest. I can't give any more. So I was like, okay, something needs to change. What is it? And I just started doing what I wanted. I just took more control of my journey. I was like, right, this isn't working. Let's see if I can change this. Let's see if I can talk to this coach and see if we can get more access here and see if I can, like things that I felt weren't quite right. I wasn't accepting anymore. And I was like, right, let's change this, this, and this. And things that I couldn't change, I just changed the way I thought about them because I was like, well, at least I've tried to change them. I can't change them. Then nothing is going to be an excuse. I can't say it's my own brain that's stopped me from making it to the Olympics. I can't blame this person. I can't blame the scenario. I can't blame the fact of being a little short. Like there's going to be no excuses. It's down to me to make my journey the way that I can do it. And I asked myself like, should I continue? And it was like, well, obviously I want to continue. I want to try. I'm just going to make it worth it. And my mindset, I worked on my mindset shift and focused on the process rather than the outcome of making it to the games. And I was like, even if I don't make it to the Olympics, these few months, I want to make them the best they possibly can be. And I want to be the best I can be in these months. Like if I don't make it to the Olympics and I become the reserve athlete, I still get to train alongside the people that are going to go. I still get to train on the trampolines, and I have that. And I actually don't need to peak at that one moment. I can peak any moment in that time to try and do the best routine for my own like desire to know I can do really well. But ended up like with that mindset shift, ended up being able to kind of get myself back on track and perform well, and well enough to make it onto the Olympic team. And just making the Olympic team was just like, getting that phone call was amazing. And like the Rio Olympics, just like to make it onto the team, to know I was going to become Olympian and to go to the Olympics was the most amazing feeling. But what was even more amazing feeling for me was that I was so proud of myself from changing from my absolute lowest point ever to switch it to something that I was proud of myself for the efforts that I put in. I was proud of myself for the person that I was becoming. I was proud of myself for supporting my competitors and as well as I could. And like trying to go into a training session with energy and rather than misery. And, I was so proud of what I was doing day to day that was a much better feeling. And that's saying something to become an Olympian or knowing that you're going to become an Olympian was an amazing feeling in itself. So it's just like going into those Olympics, I felt so confident in myself and so proud that if I was to do a crash dive, so like literally it's a 3/4 front to back, that's my first skill. That's how I start the competition. If I was to do that and splat on the mat, I knew 100% that was the best I could do in that moment. I prepared myself the best I possibly could, trained hard, trained smart, and I was going in knowing that I couldn't be disappointed in myself. I could be disappointed in the performance that I would deliver, but I would never ever be disappointed in myself. So, and I've never like felt so strongly in that moment. And I had 3 targets. One, enjoy the experience. So I want to take it all in. Second one was, take it all in, learn from it. And the third one was to try and do the best I could in the competition. And I knew I'd already done that, but actually do it. So I made it into the final after my set and very good set and a not so good fall, second routine. And I was like, oh my God, I've got this one last chance to do the routine that I want to do. As in like, I've trained so hard and I still haven't felt like I've put it all together. I've got close with like 9 skills out of 10, being really good. And I was like, I want to put it all together because after the Olympics, I'm going for a surgery on my ankle. So like, this is literally like the best opportunity I have. In the build up to the final, I didn't really take in that it was an Olympic Games in going into final. Like I was so focused on this routine, right? I want to feel like this, I want to do this, and this is how I do it. I got on the trampoline and just everything was going smoothly. Everything felt right. And it was the best routine I could have ever done in that moment. Like really everything came together, did the out jump. And that's when I kind of realized, oh my God, like I have just done the best routine of my life at an Olympic Games in an Olympic final, killed the trampoline, and I like presented, got off the trampoline, just burst into tears. Because the thing was, I was holding in so much emotion from the entire year that I couldn't process, and I was holding in so I could train for this moment. And as soon as it was over, I could be excited for being at the Olympics. I could take in the crowd. I could grieve. I could be sad that it was over. I could be happy that it was over. Like there was the most just intense emotions all at once. And then seeing my score and knowing it was a personal best, and the judges also agreed. And it was a good score. Like those emotions then multiplied. I was like, this is amazing. Like, and the competition, I was seventh going into final, so I was second up. So I had the rest of the competition basically to go. And people just started going below me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to finish fourth. But like at the same time, I was like, it was like that World Championships back in 2010. I knew that even if I finished fourth, no one could take that feeling away from me. I was never going to feel like I could make it into third because I'd got that 0.1 every single time I was training. I was trying to gain that 0.1. So even if I was 0.01 away from bronze, I knew I couldn't do anymore. So I was like, it's okay if I finish fourth. But it was looking likely. And then the Rosie went above me. She was the reigning Olympic champion. So I was like, okay, fourth it is. But there was still 2 more competitors to go. And the Chinese competitor, Li Dan, who I thought was going to win, I thought she was the leader. She'd been winning everything. Her score just went below mine. And I remember the coaches, like Great British coaches, like cheering. And I was looking at the score and I could see that I was in second place, and knowing that the worst I could finish was third. But I was like, they haven't added a score right properly or something. I was like, so I was just there like checking like my mouth was like checking every single score that they'd added in everything right. And I was like, oh my God. And I just fell to the floor. Like, cause all of those emotions just like times them by a million. I felt like the entire crowd could feel what I was feeling. Like I felt like I was radiating out, couldn't hold it in, just fell to the floor, like in a heap, just crying because like I'd never won a major championships individual medal before. I'd finished fourth at Worlds. I finished fourth at Europeans. This was my first one. And it was at Olympic Games, and my dream had like come true in the most beautiful way, like achieving the best routine I possibly could. In that moment, and feeling so proud of myself and just everything that I'd gone through for that, like those feelings, just, it was the most amazing feeling. And to stand on the podium and receive a silver medal in the end, because the final competitor also felt below mine, was more than I could ever have dreamt of at that moment. So yeah, Rio Olympics was incredible for so many reasons, and the build up for it was so difficult.
Hi guys, thanks for listening to the Game of Gymnastics podcast so far. If you've gotten this far into the video, you probably enjoy what I'm doing and you're potentially a repeat listener of the podcast. I want to bring you the best content possible so that you can enjoy what you're watching the most. As a result, I've created a Google form that you can fill out in the description below, and it will just be for a little bit of information about who you are and how I can best tailor the podcast to you and your interests. Again, thank you for listening and thank you for filling out the Google form. But now back to the episode.
And after that, I went straight into surgery for my ankle. I didn't go to plan, went for another surgery. Thankfully, it fixed the issue. 2 years later, we're back on competing. We had a global pandemic, and I felt I was at the top of my game. I felt like really strong. I thought Rio was going to be the peak of my trampolining, but actually managed to get better at trampolining and achieve more results. And going into Tokyo Olympics, it was a very different scenario. I knew I was going to make the team quite early on, or at least felt so confident with my qualifications. It was very different. But going into Tokyo, it was like our first competition internationally, or pretty much at all, other than the trial events, for a whole year. Like, isn't that the best way you want to prepare for Olympics?
Yeah.
Come in and it'd be the first one. And it was just such a weird experience. Like, the thing I loved about Rio was the crowd and the the vibe of the village and everything, and the competition itself. I love the crowd. But for Tokyo, it didn't have one. It felt like a trial event. And I said about that earlier, that trial events are just a completely different game. They just feel really different. And it was like a glorified trial event with cameras on you. So I found it really, really tough. I almost had to switch off my brain to be able to just let my body take over. My training had been awesome going in. And that is what got me through the competition. Just the fact that my training had been so good, because mentally I was really, really off. I just woke up on the day of competition and I just didn't feel right. And I got to competition. I tried to change it, and I felt like I ended up doing okay. So I definitely changed my mindset in the competition. But the way I could deal with it was to switch off my brain and not really think about it, let my body take over. So I don't really remember too much of Tokyo other than doing my first routine and going, phew, and doing my second routine and going, oh my God. I remember Tracy even saying to me, look, you can do it. I was like, yeah, but I've got another routine to go. I was going into the final in third. And just, I made like 3 mistakes. So in the, like 3 significant mistakes in the routine. And I just remember going into Tokyo going like, lightning doesn't strike twice. Like, you're not going to do the best routine you possibly can, or like the chances of doing the best routine you possibly can in an Olympic final again. So you've got to be good enough that if you don't do that, you can still. So it was like, if I was going into, I wanted to win gold. I really felt like I could do it. I felt like going into the World Championships before, I could have won gold. So it was like another opportunity to try. And it really was like, if I do my absolute best, maybe I can push for a gold medal. But if I do my normal, it needs to be good enough to medal. And that's what happened. And I have like my training and my support team around me to achieve the bronze medal in that competition. And I knew straight away, as soon as I got off the trampoline, because I was in third, that when I was in first after my routine, 2 more people to go, I knew I'd made a medal, and it was just finding out what color it was. So I ended up winning a bronze medal, and I just remember feeling relief for winning another Olympic medal, to experience a similar thing from what I did after the Rio Olympics, um, and to come home with a medal for Team GB. And when I got home, I remember feeling guilty because I wasn't happy with my performance and I wasn't happy with the medal. I was relieved. And I remember that guilt is such a weird thing to deal with, because I'm like, but 4 years ago, winning an Olympic medal, like why am I feeling disappointed with an Olympic medal? This is nuts. Like, why do I feel bad? Because you're going for something bigger and you fall short and you're disappointed in performance. But I felt so guilty, and for feeling that way, and it was dealing with the guilt, which was the hardest thing. And so I felt had to kind of make a decision after Tokyo whether I was going to continue trampolining, and it was absolutely the easiest decision of my life. I was like, well, first of all, I want to do it to World Championships, and I want to try win 1 World Championships, which was the first World Championships medal I'd actually won individually. And then the next year, I knew I was going to go up to Europeans, and that's when I was going to decide whether I was going to continue. And it was just super easy. I was like, joked around, like, oh, just to let you know, like, I'm going to continue trampoline, because we'd planned that as a checkpoint. And it was just so obvious that was. And I was just doing so well and improving my routine and getting a better, like, learning new skills and putting them into routines, and just so excited. And my coach had kind of moved on and gone to, it's the same coach that helped me get through to Rio Olympics, or supported me if I was not going to. It was kind of my turn to return the favor, because a few things had happened in his life. And he was like, I want to help you towards your Olympics for Paris, but I also, I want to take up this opportunity in Scotland and be a lecturer at the university. And I want to live in Scotland for it's my dream place to live and dream house. And I was like, Paul, you are a person first. I support you as a person, and a coach like second to that. What kind of person would I be if I was like, no, you can't do that, I want you to coach me? It was like, no, like this is an amazing opportunity for you. You're a person first, and I care about you, and I want you to take what's right for you. And we'll figure out what we're going to do. And ended up switching to a club like 5 to 7 hours drive away. And just doing weeks on end sort of thing, just driving back and forth. Eventually found like a temporary place to stay at, just for certain months. And and yeah, just a different vibe and training with a different coach alongside my single partner. And so Izzy, who was also trying to make it to the Olympic Games, was just an incredible experience and amazing environment, and to be able to build up to the 3 triff. So to going into Paris Olympics, it was my most successful Olympic cycle. I hadn't had 2 surgeries on my ankle, so I wasn't out for 2 years. It was only a 3-year cycle, but I started it with a World Championships win. The second World Championships, I was actually going in quite injured, ended up getting a silver medal, which was insane at the time for me. And then the 2023 World Championships in front of a crowd, winning the gold medal. So yeah, so to going into Paris as like reigning world champion, reigning European champion, and having medaled at the 3 World Championships in that cycle, it's like, if I'm going to go in, and it needs to be, so lightning doesn't strike in the same place 3 times. I've got to be good enough that my best is going to win by miles. And if I don't do my best, I can still win. And that was like, it just stepped up. And I ended up not doing my best, but very, very close to it. I had to change my routine in the build up, and then I actually did change it. I downgraded it slightly in the final, but I just felt so strong going, like, having had a great build up in the years before. It helped me to deal with the injury that I was going in with, and like the doubt that I had of whether I could do it or not. So Paris Olympics, to be able to perform like a very strong routine that I was very happy with, and come home with the gold medal and win that gold medal in the arena with my family watching, a lot of friends watching, and my whole family could be there other than just a few people. But like mum, dad, brothers, boyfriend, and my brother's partners and kids. So my niece and nephew, who are like 1 and 3, like really, really teeny tiny, they were there in the arena to watch. Whether they can remember, but Tobias definitely will remember it, but my niece might be able to. But for me, it meant a lot, and I know it meant a lot to the family. And just they got to watch the best one. They got to watch the best result, and it was just, the crowd was amazing. The experience was amazing. I was shocked that I'd won in some ways, but I never expect to. When you go, you want, what you want, but you never expect it to happen, and then it happens, and it's difficult to describe. I don't really remember it as well as, like, for Rio is so vivid, even though it was 10 years ago. Paris is still like a little bit me trying to process what happened. Still trying to like take it in. I still like want to watch it back and just remember that moment. So very different Olympic experiences for the 5 that have been cycles I've been part of, and I've got another one to go, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly sounds very unique experiences for sure. How does it feel to have the set though?
Oh, do you know what? It makes the bronze so much nicer now. I was like, thank God I got the bronze. So I got the full set. So I was like, oh, it's just poetry. It was meant to happen. In my life, I've always found the number 3 is something like, just like the number 3 for some reason. I was 33 at my 3rd Olympic Games, got my 3rd Olympic medal, and it happened to be the gold. And it's like, and unfortunately, I was going for the triple, which would have been another 3 going on, but I ended up doing the double triple. But it was very close to being all 3s. But it just felt like, I can't believe it happened, but at the same time, it feels like it was always meant to happen. It feels like it's always been part of me, but it also didn't happen. It's such a weird feeling. So yeah, to have the full set, it's pretty cool. Like, actually, it's just, know what it feels. Each one is very unique. To me, the silver medal is still my gold medal. And it feels more like mine than it does the gold, actually, in Paris, because that was the best I could do in that moment. This is the routine I did in Rio, whereas there was a few improvements I could have made on the Paris ones. Like, having the full set's nice. And the way that it worked, it was like, started with the silver and then like went down and then bounced back up. So it's like a little trampoline bounce. I love that it's done that. And to finish with the gold as the last one, I think that kind of Team GB chose me as their closing ceremony flag bearer. And I think it's like, because of the journey of that kind of, from silver, wanting to have got the gold but missing out, getting the bronze, and then 3rd Olympic Games for gymnastics discipline. And I work as a volunteer with the Athletes Commission for Team GB, and just to feel that little bit more connected. And trampoline, I always felt like was a sport that people didn't really consider as like serious, or like, why is it in the Olympics, and not a real sport. And I felt like maybe because some people from the outside think that, maybe some people from the inside, like within Team GB or gymnastics, or think that it's not, oh, it's an easy sport because the trampoline does all the work, but they don't understand it fully. And like I take my training really, really seriously. I try and improve myself in every single aspect that I possibly can: psych, nutrition, S&C, sleep, the actual technical side of trampolining, like so many different ways. I do take it really seriously, as well as wanting to have fun with it. Um, so for Team GB to believe that somebody from trampolining could represent all the sports from their Olympics, like, and all of the athletes, it was just such an honor and such a big moment for me and my sport, and like in trampolining, just it felt validated or recognized in such a beautiful way. And it really was such an honor to hold the flag on behalf of like such a successful team of athletes. So yeah, it really, really was special. So to have the full collection, I think that helped make that decision. So it does make it even more special. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It must be quite cool knowing that you're not only known within the sport now, you're known by people who don't even really know what trampolining is. What's that sort of feeling like?
Yeah, I did start to like realize that, which, you know what, after Rio Olympics, where trampolining was like, for me, it's just my little trampoline world. I'd love to become an Olympian. Like a dream would be to become an Olympic medalist, like absolute dream. So after that Olympic medal, it kind of opened trampoline up to other sports. So I was invited to certain events, and there'd, be kayak or athletics, and you'd start to mingle with different people from different sports and be amongst that group. That started to be compared to other people from other sports and what they'd achieved. And it just, trampolining and my, I guess, achievements or my story in sport became bigger than just my little bubble. And it took a while to kind of get used to it. I'm not like Tom Daley, like where everyone knows who he is. And it's not like that at all, but it's definitely different to what I've ever thought would be from trampoline. I don't know, like people from other sports to come up and say hi and that they know me. I'm like, what? So yeah, it's really exciting to have, like Laura Kenny, her son does trampolining. So, and she's the most amazing lady anyway, but she's Olympian herself, Olympic medalist. And I'm like, oh God, I'm not nowhere near on her level of like number of Olympic medals, but like we share one, we share a gold. So it does feel like I ended up I was invited to Wimbledon, Royal Box, insane. And I was sat at like a lunch table with Jonathan Edwards. And I was like, hi, so nice to meet you. He's like, he introduced himself. He was like, hi, I'm Jonathan. And I was like, I know who you are. Like, you're like a huge idol to me. You're amazing. And I having to say like, I'm Bryony Page. I didn't say this. Like it was actually Tim Peake I brought from British Gymnastics Media. He was the one who said, oh, Bryony's an Olympic champion in trampoline. So it's like, I'm the same, sat having lunch with this amazing athlete. And I'm like, wait, I'm an Olympic champion too. And he's an Olympic champion. What? And it's just like, that's what the part that doesn't feel real, is that it's, not comparable, but like very similar.
I mean, it is comparable.
Yeah, like it's not like, everyone's achievements are amazing and insane. And just like, for me, they're mine. Like, but to be like, wow, we share like an Olympic podium, we both stood on top of an Olympic podium. It's just, unreal to be noticed by other sports. It's really special. And I love the Olympics. I've watched them since I was a little kid, and to be one of those people is really special.
Yeah. I know that we could talk about a lot more and there's so much more that we could say, but I'll keep it somewhat short because I know you have to get to physio. What is the one thing that gymnastics has taught you that you'll take on even beyond trampolining?
One thing, like a whole bucket load of things. I think making things worthwhile, no matter what you want the outcome to be, make it worthwhile. So actually becoming an Olympian gave me insight, which I'd love to share with other people that are training for the Olympics, because it's such a privileged position to realize it, but only after you've done it. It's like a cruel game. Although I had the most amazing experiences at my Olympics that I've competed at, they are only 2 weeks long, and they're only for trampoline, only 1 day long. And that's a minute and a half if you get lucky to get into the final, which is 30 seconds. So you're dreaming for that 30 seconds, and you're training for me, it was for Paris, 24 years of trampolining for 30 seconds to win that gold medal. And the 24 years of trampolining up to that moment was totally worthwhile, even if I'd never make it to Olympic Games. I loved it. Other than, we had I had some challenges, but I learned so much about myself. And so I'd take that forwards, is like all the lessons that I've learned in that time will help me in the future. Like, be proud of yourself by your efforts and make things worthwhile. That's no matter what the goal is. And be process driven. Think about what you can do day to day that's going to help you feel proud of yourself and become the person that you want to be, and always work on that.
I like it. Sounds good. Thank you very much for coming on. I hope you've enjoyed listening to the Game of Gymnastics podcast, and I hope you join me in listening to the next one. Peace.